Right, cool. Here we are. It's been a hot minute since we looked at army lists, hasn't it? So because I know nothing about 10th edition yet, I feel like on tonight's show we're just going to look at army lists very quickly and say what we like and what we dislike. I guess if you're putting in army lists in the future, it's going to be really useful if you tell me what characters are attached to what squads. Like, we'll be able to guess, and we'll probably be able to make pretty good educated guesses. But I suppose there will be the odd time where we don't actually know who's attaching to what. Because I guess that's the one thing that I kind of dislike about army lists in the new edition is, like, you actually don't know, what the hell is this chaplain attached to? Like, I guess, I don't want to have to look up the codex on the middle of the army list show to try and find out what the hell you can be attached to. I don't remember. I don't even... Apparently I don't even get my army list right with the attachments. So yeah, interesting. Chrono's saying, Juan, good afternoon, good evening. Bad Francis, hello. Turkey, what's happening? The only thing I feel confident in is that shooting is generally better than melee. Yes, I would agree though with that. I'm going to be running like a way more shooty list this week. I think I'm going to run 2 Vindicators as well, and a Tech Marine. I was actually... So you used to be able to only repair... Could you repair different vehicles with different Tech Marines? I was looking at it today and was like, there could actually be plays where you run multiple Tech Marines. I guess you could run Tech Marines. Okay, so like first list, what we got? We got Chaplain, we got Lamartas, we got Tycho. This is Death Company Tycho. I had to think about that for a second. We've got Death Company Intercessors. We've got Death Company Marines times 10 times 5 times 10 with jump pack. Right, that's way too many melee. That's, based on my experience already, that's way too much infantry. Like, what's that? 10, 15, 25, 30 infantry? Like, that's just way too much. I feel like that, yeah, I just feel like it's too much infantry. I guess Lamartas is going to attach the 10 Death Company with probably Infernal Pistols and Power Fists. I think it's okay. But it's not good against armor in the slightest. Like, it fell over pretty hard in the game I played against Knights this week. We have a Lancer. We have Inceptors with Bolters. I do like Inceptors. I think there's probably some play in them. We've got Incursors. We've got Crusader. I don't know. I don't think that a Crusader is as good as a regular Land Raider because the Crusader is basically no anti-vehicle firepower, and you can get anti-vehicle firepower on a regular Land Raider. So I'd probably take the regular Land Raider over the Crusader unless you're desperate for more capacity. We've got Scout Snipers, which are cool because they can't be shot at. Suppressors, -1 to hit when you shoot the enemy. I guess Suppressors are slightly better than they were last edition, but I don't know if I'm playing them. I don't... Maybe. The only thing they've got is they make an enemy -1 to hit. It doesn't have to be... It's not limited to infantry now. Their weapons have gone up 1 strength, so it's strength 8 now. So it's chip damage against armor. I guess it can kill regular infantry. -1 to hit on a key target. Suppressors might not be horrific. They might be better than they were, but I'm still not sure I'm running them for 95 points for 3 of them. And then we got the Whirlwind, which actually went 25 points up this week, so this list is probably out of date already. But, yeah, I feel like this list right now, just looking at it, has nowhere near enough anti-armor firepower. Death Company with Power Fists don't deal with armor. Death Company with Power Fists don't deal armor. Death Company with Power Fists don't deal armor. And then Death Company with Chainswords and Power Fists definitely don't deal with armor. So you've... What's this? 350, 670, about 800 points, then add in Inceptors, add in a Crusader. You got like you've got like 1,500 points of infantry killing. Great. That's fine. The only thing you could do, I suppose, is you could use your Death Company Marines with Oath of Moment, with Lamartes, and you probably could deal with some armor. But I think that there's so many things that are just going to kill infantry right now. Strength 4 infantry felt bad last edition, I felt like. And I think they're going to struggle this edition. James says he really likes 10 Chain Fist bolters with the captain. I tried that this week, James. It didn't do very well against knights. But the knight I went after had both -1 damage and -1 AP. So he was saving on his knight for 4 ups. And he was only taking 1 damage a shot. Really, really... Chain Fist just being -2 really hurts them. Like, what's the thought on putting a free blade in the list? I mean, it's not bad, Brett, because knights are so good right now. They're a great unit for Overwatch as well. Pick better targets. Yeah, I mean, I built a list to go out. I mean, you're going to have to kill it eventually, right, James? If you're happy to just let a 600-point knight rain fire on you for the whole game, I kind of built like a skew melee list just to see how it would do into knights. Okay, so this first list, I cannot see myself running 30 Death Company Marines. Having played, I've played the 5-man Thunderhammer squads twice. I've played the 10-man Lamartas squad once. I don't think either of the squads are good when you compare them to Assault Marines with like a Chaplain, and the Assault Marines are, I don't know, the Assault Marines and the Chaplain are maybe like 305 points. The Death Company with Martas are like 435. I feel like the Assault Marines do more damage. Yeah, I mean, maybe the Death Company with -1 damage and 6 that feel no pain are a bit more survivable, but my experience tells me that like when those units get targeted, they die anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'll probably run 10 Death Company with Infernal Pistols, Power Fists again with Lamartes. Gut feeling of my first run out with it was like it just wasn't good. But yes, big knights are problematic. And has anyone in chat beat knights with Blood Angels? And if so, what did you use? Like, because I think my next list is just going to go like much harder on armor, because I think we probably need it. All right, we got another list. We're just going to be bouncing from list to list quickly. Can you run a priest and a chaplain with an assault squad? You cannot. I did that last week on stream and I fucked up. You cannot do that. It needs to be a captain and a priest with the assault squad, which I think is actually fine, because the captain will make the chain swords strength 5. It will make the eviscerators strength 8. It will give your eviscerators and your chain swords more EP from the priest. You can use Honor of the Chapter if you're a gladiator to get even more EP. So you can get strength 5 chain swords with +1 to wound and -3 AP, which isn't bad. It's not great, but I feel like it isn't bad. Death Company with Lamar is also need to be wary of models with ability like Trajan who ignore modifiers. His unit ignores the -1 damage. Oh, I didn't even know you get units that ignore -1 damage. Okay. Yeah, so it's the list from David. He said he was going to do Dante with 5 Sanguinary Guard. Based on my experience... okay, I guess he's made a mistake here. He thinks that... It's so stupid. The Sanguinary Priest cannot attach to Sanguinary Guard. So many people are getting that confused. I mean, it is confusing. Well, the Sanguinary Priest should be attaching to Sanguinary Guard. I mean, I don't even know if I would play Sanguinary Guard at 215 points with the Priest attached, because I still think they're grossly overcosted. But yeah, so Dante for me also doesn't. My experience, I think I've played Dante twice, and I played the generic captain like twice. And the thing I like more about the captain is like the free stratagem you get every turn, or not every turn, every battle round. I think like that's potentially better than Dante. Like +1 to hit on Dante is cool. But I think the stratagem for I feel like +1 to wound is more valuable than +1 to hit. And also that gives you free heroic intervention. Also gives you potential free fight on death. The Sanguinar to me seems like an overcosted character. 160 points is crazy. We talked about this last night when it was like, so an Armiger, which is like toughness 10 with 12 wounds and OC 8 and like strength 12 Meltagon. I don't know what else the Armiger has, but it's got everything. It's only 140 points. How can this toughness 4 character be 160? I don't get it. I like the rules for the Sanguinar in principle, but I don't think he's versatile. Like, yeah, sure he'll kill infantry, but he's never going to save you against a vehicle charge. How does the Sanguinar actually interact with tank shock? Do you think the Sanguinar is our best character? Well, I mean, if you think he's the best character, go for it. I think he's overcosted, but I mean, I think a lot of this stuff's overcosted. But the thing is, I've played Eldar twice. I've played Eldar once. I've played Knights twice, and Knights are horrific for Blood Angels. Like, there's no melee units just bounce off them all over the board. They bounce off them. You can kill one unit a turn with Oath of Moment, and that's all you've got. When you're playing a Knight list that has like what 8 big Knights. Well, I mean, you need to be able to kill more than one of them a turn. What was actually messed up was I actually killed 2 of them in turn 1, and I still got tabled in 2 turns from the Knight list. Because I guess toughness 4 characters, or strength, yeah, toughness 4 infantry, even toughness 5 infantry against Knights is pretty horrific. Craig says he can't see himself running Dante. The Sanguinary Guard are too expensive. Yeah, Sanguinary Guard are grossly overcosted. I think everyone can agree that. I don't know if they can. They've made them really good in melee. The problem is they're rarely gonna. Oh, my daughter's up. I'll be right back. Right. Generic captains and stuff are better than the Sanguinar again. Too high a cost for what he does. I'd rather have 3 Inceptors with 3-inch to deal with things. I don't know. I think like this. I actually want to know how tank shock interacts with a Sanguinar. Actually, I'm gonna just let me read those rules because I'm not entirely familiar with tank shock in the Sanguinar. I've used the Sanguinar in one game. I thought he was okay. Once per battle, the end of your opponent's charge phase. If this model is still in reserves, you can select an enemy made the charge move and set him up in engagement range. So at the end of their charge phase. So I think he would be. I think tank shock happens at the end of the charge. So I guess they would be able to tank shock you first, and then the Sanguinar can arrive. So one vehicle from your army until the end of the phase. After your unit ends a charge move, select one enemy within engagement range of it. Until the end of the phase. That's weird. That's weird. So you could potentially tank shock and kill the Sanguinary and completely render him until the end of the phase after a unit ends a charge move. So we play tank shock in my charge phase. Maybe not, maybe not. I don't know why they've said until the end of the phase. That's a bit weird that they've said that in there. I think it's fine. I think the Sanguinary would be fine to come in and you couldn't assign the mortal wounds to him. But he's situationally only going to be good against infantry, so you're paying 160 points to deal with an infantry charge. And I guess, like, is an infantry charge what you're expecting to have? Like, I don't really have problems with infantry charges, or at least I haven't in the games that I've played so far, I guess. I feel like my bigger problems are going to be, like, stuff that's got much higher toughness, because that's what Blood Angels seem to really struggle with. Alright, we've got 6 Blade Guard in this list. We've got a Company Champion with Artisan of War. We've got Mephiston and 10 Assault Intercessors. We've got 5 Assault Terminators. We've got Death Company Marines with 5 Hammers. We've got Heavy Intercessors. We've got 3 Eradicators. And based on like that's pretty much almost one of the first lists I ran, Dave, where I don't think I ran Blade Guard, but I maybe ran like more jump units and stuff. And like looking at that list, like I think it falls over horrifically when you fight into an armor-based list. I'll give an example of like what I mean by an armor-based list is, right, like I was going to be playing Imperial Guard on Wednesday, and Andrew already sent me the list that he wants to play on Wednesday, and it's like 2 Basilisks, 3 Earthshaker Carriages, a Lehman Russ Executioner, 3 Manticores, a Rogel Dorn Battle Tank. What's the toughness of the Rogel Dorn now? Because it was like toughness 9 before. Is it toughness 13 now? I don't know what the toughness of a Rogel Dorn is now. Someone in chat can maybe tell me. There was toughness 9 last edition, so I expect it to be pretty high. And then like 2 Scout Sentinels. So it's just a list full of tanks. Like there is nothing. Sorry, he's got 265 point squads of Cadian shock troops. Oh, he's got a tank commander in actually don't know what tank that's in, but it's a 280 point tank commander, so he's gonna be in a tank, and then he's got Lord Solar for 125 points. So I'm just telling you what I'm playing against. Every list I'm playing against Steel Rain has crazy amounts of armor, and like there's no play for me. The Sanguinary will just be 160 points of nothing. You can't do anything into the lists I'm getting to play against, which is fine. I mean, like people in my meta will take the strongest shit, and it's good that they do take strong skew lists because it helps prepare me for tournaments, right? Evening, John. How you doing? Stern Guard with Bolter Discipline. I mean, Stern Guard with Bolter Discipline does seem like a good combo, but again, it's mainly to kill infantry, right? What's useless and competitive? Sorry. Oh, you think the Sanguinary... So people are split. Some people think Sanguinary is amazing. Some people think he's useless and competitive. I think I stand on the farm of like I think he's useless and competitive. But I mean, I'm not going to a competitive tournament for. My first tournament's in November, honestly, and that's going to be the first one I go to. So, this list by David, so this list that David ran that was very similar to my first list that I ran on stream and got massacred with. The second list I ran on stream was Dreadnoughts, and I got massacred with Dreadnoughts. My conclusion is a list like this has not enough hard hitting stuff anymore because Blood Angels really struggle now to wound armor with their infantry, and Dreadnoughts seem really, really expensive for what they are. I think they're all overcosted. When you compare them to the tanks, like, and well, maybe it's just the Redemptor Dreadnought. Like the Redemptor Dreadnought's in a weird place where its main cannon doesn't kill armor anymore, and it's really really expensive. So I don't know. My experience with the Redemptor Dreadnought is really poor this edition as well. Evening Sang, how are you? Dominic played against Custodes today, was pretty rough trying to kill the guards. Did anyone beat Knights? Sorry, did I said that? If anyone beat Knights yet, please say in chat. Yeah, I mean, the cool thing about the Sanguinary is rapid ingress. You can bring them in 12.1 inches away. The enemy can't declare you as a charge target. They can't declare you as a charge target, and they can't shoot you either. So the Sanguinary can come in with rapid ingress and be pretty free, I guess. Like, he can do what he wants to do. But I think the problem, he's got the same problem as a lot of the other Blood Angels models, in that, like, he'll kill infantry, but not all that much else, right? Like I was playing against Eldar, and they had like 10-man squad of Wraith Blades. Well, Wraith Blades are toughness 7 now. So, like, if you place the Sanguinary into, like, in melee range, when those guys come in, you've got 8 attacks hitting on 2s. Let's just assume you hit all of them. Well, now you've got 8 hit rolls, but you're only wounding on 5s. I think the Wraith Guard have a 4-up invulnerable save, so you're paying 160 points to kill, like, 130-point Wraith Guard model. Maybe Wraith Guard are like 38 points, 40 points, but still, it's the strength of Blood Angel swords is weaker than it should be. I think if they want Blood Angels to still be a melee chapter that can do a lot of stuff with, like, our melee, strength 5 and 6 from the Incarmite Blades is really not going to cut it. Even Dante's strength 7 axe most of the time isn't going to cut it, in my opinion. Yeah, well, I'm trying to think, like, the list that I'm going to run this week. I'll tell you how much armor it is, because I've got it in my app. The list I'm going to run this week, because I already made the list, is going to run, like, a command squad, a blade guard squad, and 10 assault marines with jump packs. And that's going to be it for infantry. So that's like 330 plus the 165 command squad. So like 495 points in infantry. That's what I'm running now. Every other point is spent on tanks. A land speeder to buff the tanks. Oh, I got like 1 squad of incursors in there also to buff the tanks. So I lie. I've got 590 points of infantry in my list. And then like 200 points of characters, and then the rest is tanks. Tanks. No dreadnoughts, because for some reason I just think they're really, really, really pricey at the moment as well. When you're running Stern Guard, I think you could run any character. A lieutenant might make a lot of sense to run on Stern Guard, because it would give you like fallback and shoot, and the combi weapons are going to be the damage dealing unit of the Stern Guard, right? So let's look at another list. By the way, guys, if you want to start submitting lists to the channel, you can probably do that now. I might actually get you guys to start emailing the lists in the near future. I do have an email address set up for the channel. Maybe I'll do it that way. We'll figure out how we're going to do lists. Yeah, okay, so the Sanguinary for 1 CP could be used to precision kill an enemy character. I agree with that being really useful. I just don't know if... I don't know if that's the problem that I'm having with Blood Angels. It's not the problem I'm having with Blood Angels, right? I'm not getting killed by infantry, I'm getting shot off the table in all the games that I've played. Because melee is a lot weaker now, right? Like, I think that's a general consensus you can see with the game, that melee is not as strong as... I mean, maybe if you've got melee on a giant knight that gets 6 attacks and each is 9 damage, sure, melee's good. James, you're running a Terminator Captain, Lamartez, 6 Centurions, 10 Relic Terminators, 10 Hammer Death Company, and the rest was MSU squads to score. And did you beat Knights? You honestly beat Knights with that? If you did, I'm impressed, James, because I think I would have got shot. I got tabled in 2 fucking turns against the Knights. It was ridiculous. I honestly just wanted to, honestly could have stopped playing after like 1 turn because I was like, wow, you killed that much of my army in 1 turn without even trying. That's ridiculous. The captain with the free strat always has them in Devastator Doctrine with Bolter Discipline, says Craig. Craig, that's a good call actually. Yeah, I like that. If you're gonna use the Stern Guard and get the free Bolter Discipline, that would be one way to do it, right? Okay, let's have a look at another list. This was placed by, I think this is George 007. He was going to try Dante with Sanguinary Guard, a captain with a jump pack, another squad of Sanguinary Guard. I mean, that feels like it's too many Sanguinary Guards straight away. Death Company with Power Fist Infernal Pistols, the Librarian Dreadnought, the Sanguinar, a Judicaire, 3 Blade Guard, a Terminator Captain with Icon of the Angel, 5 Assault Terminators, a Repulsor Executioner, and Infiltrators. Okay. He's 2 expensive squads of Sanguinary Guard. I mean, yeah, yeah, sure. I really hate Sanguinary Guard at 215 points. Based on my experience of having played Knights twice, and knowing that pretty much every time you go to a tournament at the moment, you're going to face Knights, I don't see any place in the game for Sanguinary Guard right now, because, like, even Armigers, I mean, I guess I guess you can wound Armigers on 5s if you're in Sins of Sanguinius, and if you're in Gladiator, which I think is honestly the stronger of the 2, you're wounding them on 6s. So like, there's just no play there. Like, you can't have like a 215 point model wounding Knights on 6s. Like, they were hard to kill before when you wounded them on 4s. Like, they're ridiculous to kill on 6s. You teleported the Centurions up. Yeah. I mean, I guess if you teleport the Centurions up and you make the charge, but I mean, 9-inch charges are pretty risky. I just generally don't like ever doing 9-inch charges at tournaments. I just don't do them. The only time I would do a 9-inch charge on a tournament is if it's like 3 turns into the game and I think if I don't make this charge, I win or lose the game. So I'm willing to like throw the proverbial dice, if you will. But like at the start of the game, I'm unlikely to just like use a Librarian Dreadnought in turn 1 or 2 to try and make a 9-inch charge. I just think it's too risky. Like, I don't like winning or losing games on a 50. You know, it's the same as like going to a casino. I wouldn't bet on something that's 50-50, right? In fact, a 9-inch charge is actually worse than 50-50. I wouldn't even really bet on an 8-inch charge last edition, which is a 66-33. Like, I just didn't like it. I feel like as a general, you should be able to do tactics. Hey, Frickin' Class, thank you for subscribing. Alright, so you run Centurions with a Librarian Dreadnought and a Knight with beers. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair enough. If you're just looking for like have some beers and have fun. But I need to build a list soon that can start winning, because like based on my experience so far, like I've been changing my list vastly every week. I'm not remembering any of the rules, I'm making mistakes. So I need to get to sort of a normalized point with my list, probably within the next month. August, yeah. So I can get like 10 repetitions in with a decent list before I go to a tournament, because I think it's really important to have like, maybe not as many as 10 repetitions, but at least like 4 or 5. You need to play the list like 4 or 5 times before you take it to an event. Like, minimum. The more repetitions you get on, the better, really. Hello, Damien, how are you? If you're at a casino and a 50-foot bet is a close to the best you can get. Yeah, I mean, well, I'm not really a casino person, I guess. So yeah, so this list, he had 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard with Dante and a captain, He's going to try and grab objectives off people. I mean, you can grab objectives off people with OC2. That's cool. Then you'll get shot and you'll die. My experience on Dante's Battleshock stratagem is it's kind of... Battleshock is not as impactful as everybody thought it was going to be. It very rarely comes up, it feels like. I've played 4 games, maybe like 1 or 2 times in 4 games, maybe even less. Battleshock's really had a meaningful effect. Librarian Dreadnought is to move units around, of course it is. The Blade Guard and the Judicar are going to be in the Repulsor, which I actually think is not a bad plan. I'm going to run that in my next list. I'm going to have a Repulsor. I'm going to have Blade Guard inside it. You've got infiltrators on your backfield again. That's not a bad idea. The Repulsor can have some solid anti-tank. I mean, I wouldn't say the Repulsor has solid anti-tank. It has one twin-linked las cannon, which is like 1 shot with a reroll to wound. And it has like 1 las talon, which I guess is maybe 2 shots with no rerolls. So the Repulsor on its own is not solid anti-tank. Like, that's a lie. I'm just being brutally honest. Sorry, if anyone's lists here thinks I'm being harsh, I'm just telling you brutally that like 1 unit with some las cannons on it is not solid anti-tank. You're going to run into armies where you're going to need like 5 times that now. Because everybody's moving to this tank-heavy meta because tanks are just that much better. You've toyed with 10-man Desolation Squad, but I feel having some heavy armor on the table with anti-tank in the same unit will provide a bit more punch, force people to deal with it. I mean, people will have to deal with a Repulsor. I just don't know if I class it as solid anti-tank. I think it's a survivable chassis that will linger around and potentially do some damage. I think Desolation Squads are still really good. I think one thing that I've seen that I've not run myself now is some people are saying like putting Desolators and Impulsors is actually pretty good as well. Especially if you've got Tech Marine on the board. So one of the weaknesses, I suppose, of the Desolation Marines are that they're toughness 4, 2 wound infantry. If they're in an Impulsor, then they're not quite perceived as quite as weak, and they're a bit more mobile as well, if you need mobility on them. Yeah, this... based on my experience so far, this is not a list I would play. I think Sanguinary Guard are too expensive. 5 Death Company on their own don't do enough work anymore. And I was going to say, Assault Terminators are an awkward model or an awkward unit now, right? I think James said he was using Relic Terminators, and this week I ran Terminators with Chain Fists. I think Assault Terminators have probably got a lot weaker because, like, I don't know what the Thunderhammers are supposed to kill anymore because they don't kill armor. Right? If you wound armor on 5s with Thunderhammers and they're only 2 damage, then they're not kind of useless. They're very... I feel like they're totally useless. Like, you know, you don't get a lot... Like, how many attacks does Assault Terminator even get? Like, 3? 4? It must be 3. It's got to be 3 for an Assault Terminator. So like Assault Terminators, you're going to have to make a 9-inch charge, which we know is a shitty percentage. Or you can, I suppose you could rapid ingress them and try and do something snazzy. So you can get them in, but then it's only like, even with Sons of Sanguinius, it's 20 attacks, right? 20 attacks hitting on 3s. So you drop a third of them, so it's 14. If you go into anything above strength 9, then it's wounding on 5s. So the enemy, you're going to have to take like 3 saves at -2, and it's only 2 damage per attack. Like, I like Assault Terminators. I have more Assault Terminators painted than my Chainfist Terminators. But I don't know. Is anyone sold on Assault Terminators at the moment? I like the idea of an Impulsor with 6 Eliminators, says Crozier. What type of guns, though, Crozier? Right? Like, Eliminators, to me, feel like they would... Like, you can't be doing las fusils now, can you? Strength 9 again? Like, Strength 9... Like, for my experience in the games that I've played tells me that, like, Strength 10 is, like, a break point. I think it's probably just that armatures are strength 10. So if you run into a knights list, you need a shitload of strength 10 firepower, ranged firepower. If you don't have strength 10, I mean, you probably need strength 10 in melee as well, which I think we can't get. Like there's no weapon we can have that can have strength 10 in melee, except like a Dreadnought. There's no way to get an infantry model with strength 10, right? Does anyone know the firing deck rules? Does the squadron size still get to benefit from its leader? So the firing deck, it's mentioned in the core rules, actually. You should just download the core rules. There's literally a paragraph on firing deck. Each time a model is selected to shoot, X-embarked models can shoot. You can select one ranged weapon that is embarked with the models. I guess it doesn't actually say. It does say, until the transport models have resolved all of its attacks, it counts as being equipped with all the weapons. So imagine this, if you put Desolation Marines inside it, imagine your transport is now attached with like 5 super crack missile launchers. If you have a character attached to that unit that are buffing the unit, it's irrelevant when you're in the transport. The transport has the weapons, you can't get buffs off characters. So Assault Centurions can get Strength 11. On the charge in Sons of Sanguinary. So that's your only unit that can get above Strength 9. I think Centurions are going to be really difficult to run, James. They were slow when they were 4 inches. Yeah, I have 3 Centurions. I did actually run them already in a game, and I didn't feel like they were that useful. The 4-inch move actually meant, like, when I arrived them 9 inches away, I almost didn't manage to make the charge the second turn because they're so damn slow. 4-inch move is horrific. Turkey says Assault Centurions are the only thing that's scary in melee now. Strength 11, damage 3, 4 attacks, twin linked on the charge, and sustained hits 2. It is sustained hits 2 against some vehicles and monsters. But 3 of them, I feel like 3 of them, I'm not sure you've got weight of fire to rely on those sustained hits all that much. Steel Range Centurions are too slow. Yeah, I mean, the only way I think you could play Centurions is if you're playing Gladiator's detachment and you give them advance and charge. Because you could call the tactical doctrine when they're leaving the Land Raider. So you could move your land. No. I mean, you could. Can Centurions go in a repulsor? I don't know. But I mean, when you disembarked, you'd be able to disembark within 3, move 4, D6 advance, and then charge. Land Raiders to me feel too, like, when you compare Land Raider to a repulsor, for like a Land Raider is like 270 points, or repulsor. I was going to say, I've got a printout with the points cost here. Land Raider. Yeah, the regular Land Raider is 275, and the repulsor is like 195. I don't know why it's like you're paying 80 points for that ramp. It's actually kind of crazy to be, well, and the Land Raider gets a 1 better on its armor save. It saves on a 2 rather than a 3. I like the Redeemer Steel Rain. I just don't know if I can play it at 295 points. Not when it can get shot and killed in 1 turn. I think it's super risky because it's got no invuln. I do like the Redeemer. I like the Flamers for Overwatch, but yeah, 295 points. You remember at the start of 8th edition, they had like all the Land Raiders and all the Gladiator tanks and all the Dreadnoughts like overcosted by like 20% or something. I think there's a few units that are like that are like just 20% too expensive. Like, can a Redeemer really be 100 points more than a Repulsor? For like one more in the armor save and a couple of flamers? That's really 100 points more. Evening, Great Angel. How are you doing, Mike? I don't know. Ugh. It feels like it's best just allying with a knight. Yeah, I mean the simple thing would just be to buy a knight, I suppose. Throw a toughness 12 knight in your list with like 20 something wounds and an invulnerable save, and then you'll be good, right? There could be arguments for putting a knight into Blood Angel's list. Knights are really, really strong at the moment. I think they did up the points on the knights. I think the thing that makes the knights obnoxious actually is that they can just reroll all their ones to hit and wound at the moment. I think that's probably too strong combined with the 6-up Feel No Pain. A Gladiator Lancer seems like the best anti-tank. Gladiator Lancer is very, very reliable, and for 145 points, I think if you don't have a Gladiator Lancer, I guess now would be the time to buy one. I think that possibly you want at least one, but there could be an argument for just saying 3 go into every list, right? 3 Gladiator Lancers is like 435 points, gives you like 6 strength 14 shots with like a bunch of rerolls to hit, a bunch of rerolls to wound, and a bunch of rerolls to damage. I think it's like the Gladiator Lancer is very good. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone in chat said they were running assault terminators. So I guess like for this list from George, like I don't want to shit on everyone's ideas, but assault terminators are like, yeah, right? Like, why would you run assault terminators over chain fist terminators now? There's literally no reason. I don't think the extra wound from the shield helps that much. Yeah. The only thing I think you want in every list at the moment is the Calidus, what, to mess with the opponent's CP. What knight would I consider with Blood Angels? I don't know if I know which one's the most cost effective based on the points changes. But I think if you're going to run Blood Angels, you could probably just run the most shooting knight you could build, like maybe a Warden or something, right? Because like Blood Angels do typically have reasonably decent melee, so probably you could just run a shooting knight. You don't need your knight to do melee as well. Message me on Discord and I'll send you a list that I've made. Well, yeah. Do you know what, Velwyn? Just buy a Gladiator next. Gladiator tanks are going to be. They're going to be really key in this edition, I feel like. I ran a tournament in 9th edition where I ran armigers, like 3 armigers. I think it's okay. I think it's probably got better. Discord, type exclamation mark Discord in chat and you'll get into our Discord. Alright, so Dildo. I realised what I've just said. That's what his name is. Thanks for making me say that out loud. Alright, this guy, great YouTube name, is going to run Dante, Chaplain, Smash Captain. He's going to run 3 squads of Jump Pack Death Company with Thunderhammers. He's going to run 1 squad of Sanguinary Guard. He's going to run 2 assault squads of 5. He's going to run 3 regular Dreadnoughts with 2 las cannons. Okay. He's going to run run one with an assault cannon, he's going to run an annihilator, and he's going to run a whirlwind. Trying to, like, the regular Dreadnought has an aura that, like, you get to reroll ones or something around the regular Dreadnought when you try and hit, I think. It's weird because they said this Dreadnought was being Legends, and then they actually didn't Legends it. We find this regular Dreadnought. This one. While infantry is within 6, each time a model in this unit makes an attack, reroll a hit of 1. It's going to run 3 of these with las cannons. I mean, las cannons is probably a reasonably decent choice, but it's only twin linked, so it's only 1 attack. I kind of hate twin linked weapons, actually. Like, 1 shot. Well, you're going to roll a 1 or a 2 every time you shoot that, no doubt. And your twin linked is going to do nothing for you. Twin linked, I feel like, based on my experience so far, twin linked is a lot worse than it. Like, you know, before with a twin las cannon, you get 2 shots. I felt like it was okay. Now it's just 1 shot. I feel like it's kind of terrible. It's the same with, like, what else was I using that was twin linked? I can't remember. I was using something in my last battle that was twin linked, and it was like low numbers of shots. And when it's low numbers of shots with twin linked, I think it was the assault cannon on the Battle Predator went from 12 shots to 6 shots. So if you have 1 sort of like semi-duff hit roll, suddenly your weapon does no damage. And I guess you gotta. I don't know if I like a single twin linked las cannon with no baked in rerolls. That's probably why the Ballistus Dreadnought probably just looks better. Because you get some rerolls for free based on what you shoot at, right? So the Ballistus las cannon is 2 shots. Same strength, same AP, but it's 2 shots. Yeah, there's no reroll to wound, but every time you make a ranged attack against enemies that are below half strength, you can reroll the hits. I feel like 2 shots with rerolling hits is better than 1 shot with rerolling wounds. Statistically, I actually don't know where that lands, but I definitely feel 2 shots with rerolling hits on strength 12 weapon is much better than 1 shot with no rerolls. Was it I don't think I've run the Gladiator Reaper yet in 10th edition, so it must have been the Battle Predator, and I felt like its top turret did nothing now. Like, the top turret was pretty good before, 12 shots, now it's like 6. When are you not shooting a las cannon at your oath target? Well, I mean, you could kill your oath target and then you're not shooting it at it, right? I guess the way I look at it, or the way I have been looking at it, is like, you're going to oath something with the intention of killing that. So then you want other stuff in your army that can get rerolls and stuff against your non-oath targets, so that you don't get, like, if you kill 1 unit every game, or 1 unit every turn, you're probably not winning the game, because you're only killing 1 unit every turn. You've only killed 5 units across the whole game. So you need to basically have reliable stuff that can kill something else, so you can kill your oath target. And I guess a good example of that would be like the Vindicator with a land speeder, right? If you put a land speeder that can see the target that the Vindicator shoots, then the Vindicator gets to hit on 2s, and it gets to ignore cover, and the Vindicator's like D6 plus 3 or something, so it's probably going to average about 6 shots at strength 14 minus 3. So, like, the Vindicator could pretty reliably kill stuff that isn't your oath target. Yes, you maybe want to shoot it sometimes at your oath target because you're like, I really need that oath target dead. But I think when you're building a list, I think you should be thinking about, like, hey, I need to be able to shoot at my... I need stuff that I can shoot at my non-oath target. Because, like... Well, like, in the game that I just had this week, right? Like, there was a giant knight that only had 5 wounds left, right? So at the start of your turn, you know you need to kill that big knight, but you know it's like toughness 12, so most of your guns only wound it on 4s, and most everything else in your list only wounds it on 5s. So it's like, would you take the risk? It'd be like, yes, it's only got 5 wounds left. You probably know he's going to Ion Shield it as well, or rotate Ion Shields for 1 CP the second you target it, right? So it's like, would you risk not Oath of Momenting that target, knowing that if you leave it on 1 wound, then you have to weather a whole other turn of like a 600-point knight shooting at you, which is brutally terrible, right? So you're going to have to Oath it even though it's only got like 5 wounds left, because you have to kill it. So then at that point, you know, you've got all these Dreadnoughts with las cannons that you don't need anymore because you've killed it with Oath. It's just worth thinking about. The other thing that's actually crazy with Knights as well at the moment is like Tank Shock's almost too good with Knights. Like Tank Shock's pretty much like a guaranteed 6 mortal wounds every time they charge, and one of the Knights has the ability to do that for free. So basically 2 Knights will charge you every turn, and they'll just do 12 mortal wounds at the end of the charge phase because they're Knights and they roll all the dice for the mortal wounds. So yeah, I think Games Workshop are going to struggle a little bit to balance Knights. I haven't tried Hellblasters yet. I think I'm gonna... I mean, it look great at killing infantry, right? I guess great at killing infantry. John says he's been running Eradicators, but wounding on 5 is rough. So I ran Eradicators against Knights last week. I ran 6 of them, attached to the Biologist with the Bolter Discipline, Bursting, and Lethal hits. And basically felt like the Eradicators did nothing, John, and I'm never going to run them again. They didn't even... I don't even think they could kill an Armiger. Like, it was almost embarrassing how bad... Like, I don't know why Eradicators Melta is so rubbish. It just is, I guess. For the points, yes, Desolation Marines are probably a lot more expensive, but if you want to run infantry that can kill armor, it needs to probably be like a Devastator squad with las cannons or a Desolation squad. The other thing that no one's mentioned is I think the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike is really, really good if you're playing a shooting list. If you're fighting up against Knights or high toughness enemies with monsters or vehicles, then the Storm Speeder Thunderstrike +1 to wound and shooting army wide at 48 inches basically I think is really good as well. James says Twin Link does good if there wasn't Oath. Yeah, I mean Twin Link does good, I guess, against your non-Oath target. But I guess the question is like, for Twin Link to be good, I guess you need weight of fire and a single shot las cannon from a Dreadnought, which was what this list had. Three normal Dreadnoughts. I assume that's what he means. 3 Dreadnoughts. With the single shot las cannon. I don't know if it's strong. No, I just don't think it is, I guess. 10th edition feels very weird, right? Like, I guess it feels a bit alien to me, honestly. Like, what the stuff that's strong is just so like vastly different to what was strong previously. And I think the thing that, because I've tried like 4 lists now, and I think the thing that sort of jumps out at me is like, it's like one of those Matrix quotes, you know, like when Morpheus and Neo are fighting, he's like, you need to unlearn everything that you have learned. That's kind of where I feel like I'm sitting, where it's like everything that we knew before means nothing now. And we just, you know, we need to think outside the box. One of my strongest takeaways right now is Assault Marines are really, really good. Like, I think Assault Marines with jump packs, for the cost of them, are better than Death Company, and they're better than Sanguinary Guard. I mean, you could attach priest to them if you want to give them more survivability, but I think I'm just going to run my naked and just go for... you know, if they make a charge, it's probably going to be 5 or 6 mortal wounds. If you've got the chaplain in the squad, that's probably another D3 mortal wounds. So you're probably talking the Assault Marines can do like 8 mortal wounds just by making a charge. So if you can rapid ingress them somewhere and then make a charge, it's 8 mortal wounds before you even roll any dice for damage. I think I had 5 Chain Fist Terminators into a knight, and I think I did 2 damage. So, like, in that case, I feel like the Assault Marines are, I don't know, the best. Feels, I don't know. I feel sad that, like, I've got 25 painted Sanguinary Guard. I don't want to run any of them. I have, like, 30 painted Death Company. I don't want to run any of them. I have, like, 20 painted Vanguard Veterans. I don't want to run any of them. Forget everything that you knew, I guess. Don't forget the grenades before you charge. Yeah, I mean, I guess if you got the CP for grenades, it's another 4 mortal wounds on average, is it? Alright, we got 90 people watching. We got 20 likes on this video, guys. See if we can get a few more likes, please. I would appreciate it. Paddy Man says, would you drop a squad of 5 Assault Terminators to take a full 10 Assault Marines and 5 Scout Snipers? Yes. Because I don't know how you play Assault Terminators anymore. They don't kill armor or they don't kill monsters, and that's what you need them to do, right? I mean, you could take them with Lightning Claws to kill infantry, but at that point, would you not just take a faster moving jump unit to kill infantry? If you want to kill infantry, you don't need Terminators. You almost want a unit that can jump about on the map and get good maneuverability and all that kind of stuff. It's almost like GW want you to buy Assault Marines. If you missed the stream last night, I was literally just ripping arms off old models and making Assault Marines. I think that... what do I think? Like, Jim says Assault Marines are trash right now. I think that Games Workshop have made this change of like increasing the tie-in toughness without fully understanding how many units it will impact fully, I think. Right? I was trying to explain last night how much worse Death Company, like, people saw, like, oh, well, you can still get 5 Death Company with hammers for 10 points cheaper. So people think Death Company with hammers are actually... And they get baked in rerolls now. So people think, like, Death Company with hammers are better than they were last edition. I think Death Company with hammers are kind of terrible compared to where they were last edition. If you actually work out all the buffs you could stack on them last edition, you get +1 to hit, you get full rerolls to hit, you could actually... you could actually get +2 to hit to completely negate the -1 from the Power Fist. So you could have your Death Company with Thunderhammers hitting on 2s. They could have an extra point of Assault Doctrine because they're in... you could have an extra point of AP because you're in Assault Doctrine. So you could have hitting on 2s, an extra point of AP, full rerolls. Obviously, Toughness 8 was much better last edition, so the +1 to wound was really prevalent. And you could have exploding 6s. So like a Death Company last edition with not even 5 hammers, 4 hammers, which is the same points as they were right now, could do an insane amount of damage. Right? And they were also 3 damage a shot, where now they're 2 damage a shot. They innately hit on 4s, so there's no way ever to get them to hit on 2s. Yes, you get the rerolls, but they don't control objectives. I think the devastating wounds is minor at best. Compared to the 3 damage that you had before, the less AP is probably going to make up for the devastating wounds difference because AP2 isn't that useful. Or I wouldn't say AP2 isn't that useful, but it's not strong, right? Like AP2 is like kind of standard now. Jim says hammers should be an anti-vehicle weapon. Yeah, hammers would have probably been better as an anti-vehicle weapon or an anti-monster weapon as opposed to devastating wounds. I don't think devastating wounds helps thunderhammers all that much, really. I saw a game of where Terminators tore Abaddon a new one. The big issue with the meta is vehicles and high toughness equals win. Yeah, I think that's what I've been trying to say the whole stream. You should be running at least 1,000 points, maybe even 1,200-1,300 points of vehicle / high toughness stuff. I think, and normally with Marines that's really easy, and you could have a mix between vehicles and dreadnoughts. But I think they costed all the dreadnoughts too much, right? Like 195 for a Death Company dreadnought, I think doesn't make a whole lot of sense. 220 points for a Redemptor dreadnought. I mean, when I played the Redemptor dreadnought, 225 points, it got shot off the table by one gun. Like literally, I didn't even get to roll a dice. It just did 12 mortal wounds to it, and it was dead. And I was like, oh, okay. 225 points to just lift them off the board. It's like, I mean, it feels bad when you lift off like 150 point model without getting to roll any dice. 225 points feels horrific. Eternal Crusaders is 220 points for Brutalis is silly. So what would the points be for a Brutalis? Like, where's the tipping point, Eternal Crusader? How many points does a Brutalis need to be for you to want to play it? Neo-Isolationist says, I recommend to GW that things like Power Fist, Thunder Hammers, and Chain Fists be strength times 3. That would fix a lot of allowing certain weapons to be effective and do chip damage. Yeah, I mean, you're probably right, but I don't think they'll change it. How are you setting up for the story, for the 3-story terrain pieces for your games? I'm not sure what you mean, Terrence. Like Games Workshop, like we're probably going to be using the UK tournament terrain, not necessarily the terrain that was in the GW pack. The toughness change was absolutely needed, but they went too far. Toughness 10 should be the high end. An average of toughness 8. Says Jim. Yeah, it's hard to say, Jim. I think if they were going to push toughness out as much as they have done, which I think is probably fine, I just think that they've forgot. They've put themselves. So I can't remember what edition it was, but they like, maybe it was even last edition. They said that they disliked. Do you remember, like, I'm sure they said this in one of their data slates, that like they didn't like it how everybody would just bring Melta, right? Like everybody would just bring Melta because Melta were -4 and they were good strength and they did really good damage, and like Sisters of Battle would just bring tons of Retributors, and Space Marines would just bring tons of Eradicators or something. They said something like this at one point, I'm sure of it, where they said they didn't like it that everybody just saw like Melta potentially as the best weaponry and everybody should just bring it. All they've done is they've just changed it to like, well, las cannons have the highest strength, they need really high strength now, so everybody's just looking at las cannons. Like, yes, there's some other weapons in there, like, for example, the heavy laser destroyer that's on the Gladiator Lancer, but essentially that's just a souped up las cannon, right? So it's just like, we're in a meta now where it's just armor and las cannons. That was GW's fault for making the multi-melt as 2 shots. Yeah, maybe it was shortly after that, then Highland Phoenix, when they made the multi-melt as 2 shots. I don't think they changed the points too much on those multi-meltas, so everyone just went like, oh shit, multi-meltas are 2 shots, I should just bring shitloads of multi-meltas. And then for like 6 months after that, every list was like, how many multi-meltas can you get in the list? I think I remember playing one of Andrew's lists where he had like 65 multi-meltas in his list. He had nothing else. He had like no other guns in the list. Just had 65 multi-meltas or something like that. So now we're in a place where like, well, you just want as many strength 12/strength 14 shots that you can get, because basically once you've wiped out all the enemy's armor with your strength 14 strength 12 shots, then you can just use the rest of your strength 14 12 shots to kill their infantry, right? Like, they're not going to be efficient at killing infantry, but if they've got nothing else that can kill your tanks, then you're just going to win the game through attrition at that point. But yeah, so okay, Chrono's saying sent a list 9 days ago, so this might be a little bit out. But this is going to be the last list we look at tonight. I feel like I'm just raining on everyone's parade, but I'm just telling you what I've seen. I've played 4 games. I don't know if that's a high number of games, a low number of games. I've got a 5th game on Wednesday night, and it's against a crazy, crazy amount of armor Imperial Guard list, where he's got like 2 squads of infantry and Lord Solar. Everything else is armor, right? Like, just everything else. And I think he's got a bunch of indirect in there, because there's a bunch of manticores. So there'd be loads of indirect fire, and loads of armor to deal with. And based on my previous experience, Blood Angels do not deal with armor well at all right now. And yeah, Jim's right. Like, las cannons are just Space Marine Meltas are not in a good space. Space Marine missiles are probably not in that good a space either, so that's why everyone's just falling back. If you're playing Marines, you just want las cannons or heavy laser destroyers, or maybe a Vindicator Demolisher cannon if you're willing to go to the shorter 24-inch range. Our Predator's reliable enough, which, I mean, the Annihilators are probably not bad, because they are strength 12, right? It's crazy to say this. Like, my Predators have sat on their... Like, I haven't played either of my Predator tanks. Actually, I think I've got more than 2. Have I got more than 2 Destructors or Annihilators? I don't know, but I haven't played Predator tanks out with, like, the Ball Predator in, like, a decade or longer. So it's a bit strange to run them. I think I'm running 2 Destructors on my list this week, Jim. I've not, like I said, I'm still trying to figure things out. I haven't won any games yet. All I know is I've been shat on by mortal wounds and armor in every game I've played, and my melee units have just bounced off the armor and not done nearly enough damage. So I'm going to run 2 Destructors in this week's list, both with double las cannons. So swap your las cannons for multi-meltas and drop your Tycho squad right onto his... so I'm going to put my Tycho squad in a Rhino this week, because the Rhino has firing deck 2, so I'll be able to shoot my 2 las cannons out of my Rhino, James, while I get Tycho and his chumps buddies across the board. So the Rhino is just going to be distraction. Death Company Dread or Ball Predator? I'd probably run the Ball Predator with Flamers over the Death Company Dreadnought. The Death Company... you know what? The Death Company Dreadnought is going to be useful for, like, taking an objective. You put them in reserve, you make your 7-inch charge against a monster or vehicle, and you probably can kill it. The issue that I have with that is you've spent 195 points to kill it, but you actually don't own the objective, because the Death Company Dreadnought is OC0. And I think that's why... I don't know. You would need to have a chaplain somewhere else on the board to make the Death Company Dreadnought work. So you would need to be dropping him somewhere within 12. So when he finishes his charge in on that objective, there's a chaplain within 12 inches, or it's not going to do anything War Thunder. Because, yeah, it'll kill what's on the objective, but you won't hold the objective. So at that point, I'm trying to think to myself, like, well, and assuming he can't overwatch the Dreadnought when it appears 7 inches away from his models, if he's got some good firepower, he's going to overwatch you. So I think a Ball Predator with Flamers, being able to advance and shoot infantry with the Flamers, and only being 125 points, is better than the Death Company Dreadnought right now. But the Death Company Dreadnought is there's a lot of stupid stuff, right, in terms of, like, balance. I think the problem is, like, different people wrote different books. And I think a good example probably is like Ironclad Dreadnoughts. Toughness 10, 2 up save, 8 wounds. What does an Ironclad move? 6, yes. Death Company Dreadnought. So 1 less toughness, same save, same wounds. The Ironclad doesn't have to worry about the nonsense of like, being near the chaplain. Each time this model makes a melee attack against vehicle or fortification, you add 1 to the wound roll. And it's got the choice of 2 different weapons. You can have basically like Chain Fist, which is damage 3, or the Dreadnought combat weapon, which is 1 more attack, but it doesn't have anti-vehicle 3+. Anti-vehicle 3+ is a bit weird on strength 12, because most of the time with +1 to wound against vehicles, I mean, you could see the problem here, right? Like, if you're fighting a toughness 12 vehicle with +1 to wound, you're going to wound on 3s. So you would just use the Dreadnought combat weapon, because you would get 1 extra attack and you would still wound on 3s. Whereas if you use the Chain Fist, you would get 1 less attack and you would wound on 3s. I guess the only time that the Chain Fist is going to be better against is like a toughness 13 target. Okay, which I suppose there is some toughness 13 targets out there, so I guess we can understand that, I suppose. But yeah, so this Dreadnought with 5 attacks, weapon skill 3 up, 12 minus 2, 3 damage against the Death Company Dreadnought, which is 12 minus 3, 3 damage. Yeah. So he gets to fight more often, and he gets to reroll because he's twin-linked both hits and wounds. But, like, 45 points more for no OC is madness. And 1 less toughness as well. It's weird, like, they must base some of their stuff on, like, the bonuses. Like, hey, this guy can reroll wounds and hits, so he needs to be loads more points. But they don't take into the fact that, like, yes, but he's OC 0, so he should probably be less points, because OC 0 is useless for when you actually kill something on an objective. Ironclad's 150 points. This guy's 195 points, if I'm correct. They basically have similar melee weapons. Yeah, I suppose, like, they both have a melt gun, they both have a flamer, they both have... Well, in fact, he doesn't have a hunter killer missile, but it's 1 shot. It doesn't really matter. Right? So I think that comes into it as well, where they're not really sure. Andrew says I think he's going to change his Valiant to a Lancer. I wouldn't even change it, Andrew. I'd just proxy it, honestly, because they're going to change the points of everything in like 2 or 3 months. So, like, I'm not ripping the arms off my models for them to change it all again in 2 or 3 months. And, like, people are saying here in chat, there's so many, like, Thunderhammer, Death Company, they're nigh on useless now. Sanguinary Guard with swords or axes, again, they're nigh on useless now. So it's like, they're gonna have to either point them much cheaper or fix it. So I wouldn't rush to rip your models. Like, I literally have my Lancer over there, but if I'm going to run it as a Valiant and just tell my opponent that's a Valiant, I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with that. I think everybody's probably in the same boat, where models with weapon options that they've made over the years have just been made like redundant now. You get 2 hunter killers per Ironclad. Ooh. Really? Okay. You get 2 iron. Oh yeah, of course. You get... Excuse me, it's got 2 on top of it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand their pointing of some stuff. I mean... I think the Death Company Dread kills something. I just don't know how you make it work, because I think it's very difficult to end it somewhere where the chaplain is good. Because if you can't have OC on it, it feels pointless. Unless you're just going to missile into something you don't care about. Alright, Chrono's saying, let's have a quick look at this list. You had a captain with a jump pack, infernal pistol, and a relic blade. A relic blade is basically like a master-crafted power sword at this point. You can get strength 5 minus 2 damage. He's got a Judiciar with Icon of the Angel. He's got Lamartes. He's got Librarian and Terminator armor with Visage of Death. We've got a Sanguinary Priest. We've got 6 Blade Guard. I assume they'd be with the Judiciar. We've got 5 Death Company with jump packs. Probably assume they go with Lamartes. I don't think Lamartes is worth attaching to 5 Death Company, but I mean, that's just me, I guess. We've got Desolation Marines. They did just go up 50 points. That changes this list a bit. We've got Eliminators with sniper rifles. I think that if you wanted to run snipers, I might just run the Vindicator Assassin. I think he's probably better than Eliminators because he can like proc 9 damage in a single shot, and I think he might be able to devastating wounds all those attacks as well on a 6. We have a Land Raider. I think if I was running a Land Raider, this is the variant I'd run. I think it's really expensive for what it is, though. You've got Librarian Dreadnought. You've got Terminators with Power Fists. I think if you're going to run Terminators, I would put Chain Fists on them, just because I think that they're... Yes, you lose, like... I think you definitely lose something for putting the Chain Fist on them. What do you lose? Terminators. It'll be Terminator Squad, is it? Oh, you lose 1 to hit with the Chain Fists. But you get anti-vehicle 3+. The problem is, like, Power Fists are going to wound vehicles on 5s. Most of the time. Because if you think armored... Well, if you fight knights, then you're only ever wounding them on 5s. I think that's horrific. So I think you have to... You don't have a choice. You have to take the Chain Fists if you can on those new Terminators. So the ones that they put in the box with the Power Fists, cut off some Chainsword blades and stick them to the bottom of them, is my conclusion. You've got the Vanguard Veterans with jump packs. And you got the Vindicator Assassin. Alright, so you're running the Vindicator Assassin and Eliminators. Well, maybe that's cool. It's quite a lot of investment, though. I mean, I suppose if you can kill some characters out of some squads, maybe that's good as well. You killed off the Bike Farseer with the Vindicator Assassin. Yeah, I mean, I think the Assassin at 80 points is pretty good. You agree with the Chain Fist, cool. The part swap is really easy if you don't glue it. Yeah, I mean, the problem, I suppose, is just... you know what? I saw someone talking about running multiple Repulsor Executioners. I actually don't own any Repulsor Executioners. What's the profile on the heavy laser? Because I wouldn't run them with the plasma. The Executioner, I think it's like 230 points, isn't it? 230 points. What does it have? It's got heavy onslaught cannon, the macro plasma, a defensive array, twin heavy bolters, twin Icarus, heavy stubber. These things are still got so many guns on them, it's hard to remember. So you would take the heavy laser destroyer, which is BS3+. Each time this model makes an attack against targets at below half strength, add 1 to the hit roll. Oh, right, because it's like Executioner. I guess that's a cool idea. Gives it reliability on stuff that you've already wounded. Strength 16 minus 4. D6 plus 4, actually. That's pretty nice. 3 up save. Wound 16, toughness 12. OC 5. Transport 6 Adeptus Astartes models. The heavy onslaught cannon is 12 shots now with devastating wounds. A twin heavy bolter. Sure. The repulsor defensive array, which is just like basically all the Stormbolters and Frag Storms before concatenated together, isn't it? And then we can take Twin Icarus Iron Hail, so some more Strength 4 shots. And then we can add the rocket pods and the heavy stuff. I mean, the Executioner actually doesn't put out too bad firepower. A lot of it comes down to that main cannon, though. Like, I wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, trying to think, like 70 something points more than a Gladiator Lancer, maybe 65. No, Gladiator Lancer is 145. 85 points more. What are you actually getting for 85 points more? You're getting like some more toughness and some more wounds, and some more OC. Then you're getting a 12-shot Gatling cannon, 10 strength 4 shots, twin-linked heavy bolter, +1. You lose some reliability though, because the Lancer has the reroll hit, one wound. Yeah, I mean the Executioner isn't too bad, I think. Bit of transport as well, if you want to start like some Blade Guard inside it and just get them up the board. Yeah, I mean I don't hate the Executioner. Toughness 12 is the winner, says John. Yeah, I mean there's definitely something to be said about like having toughness 12 vehicles now. Or I think 10, based on my experience, toughness 10 is a break point. Like a lot of things can shoot at toughness 10. So if you're above toughness 10, it's very difficult for the enemy to wound you. I've talked about the Thunderstrike a couple of times, Rafi. I think it's a great model. I think the +1 to wound is huge into certain armies. Vehicles are monsters. I think the Thunderstrike's probably overcosted. I think I checked it. It's like 160 points. I don't know if I feel like the Thunder... Like, I don't think it's worth... Like, I don't think it's survivable at, like... Storm Speed or Thunderstrike is 160 points. The Hail Strike's only 130. I don't know why the Hail Strike's that much cheaper. Where's the Hail Strike? Is the Hail Strike the DACA one? Yeah. I guess its weapons are kind of rubbish now because it's just a strength 8 Gatling cannon. Yeah, okay, I guess it's a bit rubbish now. My experience, like, its strength 9 weapon's kind of rubbish actually on this. Like, I've used it a couple of times. You're usually going to be forced to shoot your strength 9 weapon at the armor, right? Because you're going to need to make a hit on an armor to guarantee that you get the +1 to the wound roll. So this only has one good gun, really, which is the Stormfire missiles. So it's a lot to pay 160 points for just one shot from one good gun. You're going to be forced to shoot the last talon at the same target because you need to make a hit to get the buff. And again, if you're going to shoot that against a vehicle or a monster, you're probably not going to wound except on 5s. So I feel like your last talon isn't going to be very reliable. But I do think +1 to wound from all the rest of your range shooting. Each time this model is shot, select one monster or vehicle that was hit by one or more attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time Adeptus' starter's unit makes a ranged attack, add 1 to the wound roll. So if you have like your Repulsor Executioner with that heavy laser destroyer, now you're wounding pretty much everything in the game on 2s. Well, you'll be wounding everything toughness 13 and less on 2s. Same with Gladiator Lancers, you'll be wounding on 2s. Same with Vindicators, you'll be wounding on 2s. This helped me a lot with my Desolation Marines as well, because they're strength 10, so probably going to be wounding on 4s or 5s. So being able to give them +1 to wound felt very good as well. So yeah, I think that's going to pretty much wrap it for today, guys. If anyone wants to leave an army list in the YouTube comments for me to look at next week, you're more than welcome to do that. Just put it in the comments to this video. Any unit has a transport tax as well. Yeah, the Executioner maybe has like a 20 or 30 point transport tax. It's certainly not like the 85 point transport tax that they've slapped on the Land Raider, though. You know, like, if you're just trying to make jump units or Blade Guard, I think that's why I like Gladiators, because being able to advance and charge out of a Land Raider. Sorry, advance and charge out of a transport, not necessarily a Land Raider, is actually really useful. Especially if you're in a jump unit. Like, if you've got jump Marines, they can get very, very far out of a transport. Okay, yeah, I'm tired. I'm sure there's going to be some things that I've missed. Leave me a comment in this video if there's a list that you're thinking of running. If you have beaten knights, leave me a comment in the video with a list how you beat knights. I will be live for sure this week on Wednesday night. We'll be playing Imperial Guard. There's going to be so many tanks. I actually don't think I'm starting any infantry on the board. Everything will be in a transport or in tanks. I think I've just played into horrific matchups, Fozes, and I think don't want to say jump units are dead, but jump units don't kill armor anymore. So if you come into enemy lists that are heavily in armor, you just can't kill them anymore. Yes, you can use Oath of Moment, I guess, to kill focused armor, but like, if you go back, I was going to say, if you go back, I remember playing Votan at a tournament, like a GT in 9th edition, and I remember, like, in turn 3, I was able to charge. I'm facing an Imperial Guard list that's got a lot of armor in it, Mike. Like 1,800 points of armor. Like, there's only like 2-3 units that cost 200 points together that are not armor. I remember playing a Votan player, and in turn 3, I think it was, I set the board up so I was going to basically be able to make like 5 charges, like a Sanguinary Guard charge here, 2 Death Company charges here, a Dreadnought charge, and a Blade Guard charge. So to make these 5 charges, you had no CP for interrupting. And I was sort of looking at the board thinking, I've won this game, right, at this point now, because with the +1 to wound that I have on the entire turn now, because we're in like Assault Doctrine, I'm going to do enough damage on all 5 of these combats to, I'll have done, like, whatever you want to call it, insurmountable damage. There's nothing you can do after this turn to come back. Guess you could probably wipe out a bunch of those units, and I think he did. I think he probably killed like 2 of the squads of Death Company and 1 of the Dreadnoughts. But I was just going to basically delete 5 of his units, large units, off the board. Didn't matter if they were buggies, armor, whatever. It didn't matter. I'm just going to do that in 1 turn. And that all came from our +1 to wound, making it like even units like Blade Guard were going to be able to wound like the heaviest armored thing. Because if you think about it, before, the heaviest armored thing that you could potentially fight against before was probably like toughness 8 or 9. So Blade Guard would just flat out wound those on 4s. And Blade Guard were like -3, it would have been -4 because of the Assault Doctrine. So like if you're just wounding on 4s and it's -4, 2 damage a time, you're going to do a lot of damage, right? Whereas now, if you look at Blade Guard, even if you're in the Sons of Sanguinius Detachment, you make a charge into like one of these knights, you could potentially just be wounding on 6s. Your AP is also terrible compared to what it was before. So like 3 Blade Guard, even 5 Blade Guard into a knight might actually only end up doing like 1 or 2 damage. I had 5 Chain Fist Terminators this week with Oath of Moment rerolls do 2 damage into a knight. 5 Chain Fist Terminators, 2 damage into a knight. With full rerolls to hit and wound. So it's not that melee units are bad, it's not that I'm bitter, it's just the reality of the situation is like, it's going to be so much harder. You'll never be able to do that, what we could do before. Like, it's just a complete mindset change. And it's going to change entirely how Blood Angels can play. which is fine. And we will get a codex in the future. But full disclaimer then, the thing that I'll end this stream on Wednesday night, I'm going to run like 2 Vindicators, a Repulsor, 2 Predators, a Land Speeder, a Gladiator, a Rhino, and because I know that Imperial Guard have a shitload of indirect fire, I'll not be starting a single infantry model not in a transport. Half my infantry will be in the Repulsor, the other half will be in the Rhino, and then the one jump squad unit that I have will be off the board and they'll rapid ingress. And that's it. Is there anything a Lancer can't drop? I mean, the Lancer's only 2 shots. It's not insurmountable to say someone can roll 2 4-up invuns, Chris. So yes, if you fight something and you shoot your like, I think when I fought Colin, I shot my Lancer at a Great Unclean One for 3 turns in a row, and he never failed a save. It's just 2 shots. It's, you know, if you just have 2 4-ups to save, sometimes you can just save. Yeah, sometimes it goes the other way and you take 18 damage. But, you know, if you just got 2 4-up invuns and they know it's going to be potentially 9 damage, they can CP that. So Lancers are not bad, but they don't have weight of fire, I guess, right? Oh, you said, is there anything 3 Gladiator Lancers can't drop? Well, yeah, I mean, that's why some people probably will run 3. I guess that's maybe where some people will run Repulsor Executioners. I think we're going to have to wait for a shake-up. Are we going to get 3 years of this edition with, like, it being a heavy armor edition? I don't know, man. But, do the Assault Marines with jump packs attack turn 1? I mean, if you can get them in like, in my game, I'm not going to start them on the boards. They're not going to get to attack turn 1. But if you can get Assault Marines in combat in turn 1, why would you not? They do. If the second you end the charge move within engagement range of the enemy, you do like 5 mortal wounds. Scout snipers are worth considering for indirect. Yeah, that's very true, I suppose. Scout snipers with their 12-inch stealthy ability is really nice. Yeah. Alright guys, leave a like on tonight's stream. I would appreciate it. I'll have some content out this week. I'm sure I'll catch you guys on Friday. Live battle on Wednesday night. I don't know how we'll do against Imperial Guard, but I mean, at least I'll get to feel what. And like this week, I just ran an infantry heavy list and it went really poorly. So now we've got an armor heavy list, which I'm expecting to do a lot better. My early impressions tell me though that, like, I think the thing that I was looking at was, like, in this list that I've built for this week, right? Let me look at it again. I don't think there's a single Blood Angel specific model in the list, right? Oh yeah, there is one. It's Captain Tycho. He's literally the only Blood Angel specific model I have in my whole army list. Who would have thought that friggin' Tycho is the model that would be in the list? How random is that? Alright, I'll catch you guys sometime this week. Hopefully you can enjoy the game. James says there's no way to punch tanks out with dreads. Yes, and dreads are too expensive, man. Like, they're just flat out too expensive. They're all 40 points too expensive in my opinion. I don't know why they're so expensive. Alright, enjoy your evening. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll catch you soon. Feel free to leave your list in the comments to this video and we'll include you next week. It is the 41st millennium. Mankind battles for survival across the universe, besieged on all fronts by the heretic, the mutant, and the alien. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. One faction of Space Marines stands amidst the chaos, the mightiest of the Emperor's warriors, and a beacon of light in the darkness. This legion, the 9th Legion of Adeptus Astartes, the Blood Angels.